Good morning. Happy Tuesday. So today you are supposed to first watch the Obama speech, his acceptance speech. Please do that first. If you haven't done that already, pause this, go back to his, and watch that first. Okay? All right. Hi, everybody who is ready now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the pages in our packet. So make sure you go grab your packet out. Okay? All right. So on page 297, I would like you to read part of this. This is actually not Obama's acceptance speech. It's a speech that I actually saw him give in in Philadelphia. I wasn't at the rally. It was just everything he did was televised, and so I actually looked at it for analyzing speech. So go ahead and read through that speech, and then you're going to answer the questions. So we're going to actually do two of the questions together because the first one is kind of sort of what you think based on what you read. Okay. So number two. I have to get my glasses. Number two, what did Obama say fathers should do? So fathers should spend more time with their children. At this time in history, well, even before this, there's been a crisis with fathers, minority fathers, not spending much time with their kids, basically having like a whole bunch of kids and not spending time with them, which a lot of people think results in crime and poverty and stuff. So he said you should spend more time with your kids and that you should be reading to them and teaching them to overcome challenges rather than becoming discouraged because of them. Okay, so I'll read it again. Fathers should spend more time with their children, reading to them, and teaching them to overcome challenges rather than becoming discouraged by them. Okay. Number three, do you agree with Obama's idea that people can write their own destiny? So, in my opinion, I would say no. If you are a follower of Christ, if Jesus is Lord of your life, then God is the author of your destiny, okay? Because he tells you where to go, what to do, right? Like he did with Paul. Let's look at Paul. You guys have been studying Paul in the Bible. Okay, Paul wanted to go preach in certain places, and God said, not yet. Don't go there. Go here instead. Go there instead. And so Paul obeyed. And so Paul wasn't the writer of his own destiny. Okay, God was. And God even told Paul that he was going to end up being killed for his faith. So those kinds of things, yeah. So that's what I said. Okay, if you're a follower of Christ, you are not the writer of your own destiny. All right, so please go to page 298. Okay, let's look at the questions there. You got to think back to yesterday in your reading. Okay, so number one, Americans wanted change at the end of George W. Bush's presidency because of what? What were the reasons they wanted change? They wanted change because they were tired of the war. Remember, the war had been going on almost the whole time of his presidency. So they were tired of war. And they wanted a stronger economy. Remember, at the end of his presidency, the economy starts to deteriorate. Yeah, he bails out the cars. He bails out the banks. Unemployment's starting to rise. So those kinds of things are changing. Okay, so those were the two reasons. Yeah. It is true that Bush could not run for re-election, but that's not one of the answers here. All right, number two, John McCain. All of these, okay? Remember, he was trying to encourage a way for illegal immigrants to become American citizens. That means you cross the border without permission. You came into this country, you broke the law, and he wanted to figure out a way to make them legal immigrants. Because if you're legal, that's okay. I mean, you could put in paperwork to come to this country. My daughter-in-law did. She's from the Philippines, right? And so she filled out all the paperwork and went through all the interviews. And then they're like, yeah, go ahead. Okay. So you can do it that way, but he was talking about illegal people, so people who snuck into the country, which is never good because you don't know who those people are. Okay, all right. And then number two, again on number two, supported the Iraq War. And he had experience in national government. Remember, he had lots of experience. 1982, I think it was, that he was elected, right? All right, number three, Barack Obama. Barack Obama, was he a senator from New York? No, he was a senator from Illinois, so that is not correct. He did oppose the war. Okay, remember, he was only in the Senate for 4 years before he ran for president. And really, you start running before, so I think he was there for like 2 years before he started running. Because remember, you have the primaries first, then the presidency. It's like a 2-year process. So anyway, and he promised to close the American prison on Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. It's in Cuba, by the way. I know you probably didn't know we have a base in Cuba, but we did. Because remember, at one point in history, Cuba was actually ours. Yes, we actually owned Cuba because we won it in the Spanish-American War. But then we gave it back to the Cubanese people. Okay. All right. Number four, during the campaign, Barack Obama promised Americans lots of things. These are just 3 of them. A better economy, an end to the Iraqi war, and affordable health care for Americans. And tomorrow you'll find out how that all worked out. Okay? All right. Next, John McCain's running mate was, who was she? Who was she? Do you remember? She gives you a clue. It's not Joe Biden, right? Who was she? Sarah Palin. Yes, Sarah Palin. And there's a picture on this page of Sarah Palin and John McCain. It's the top picture, in case you're not sure. Okay, the guy is John McCain, and the woman is Sarah Palin. All right. Then number 6, Barack Obama's running mate was Joe Biden, who is now running for president. Okay, and again, there's a picture of them. The bottom box with Obama. I'm sorry. Yes, Obama and Biden. Okay. Yes. All right, let's look at page 299. Why would the election of 2008 bring change to the White House? Okay, George W. Bush could not run for re-election, and his vice president chose not to run. Okay, so total change because President Bush isn't going to be there, and neither is Dick Cheney. All right, so let me read it again. George W. Bush could not run for re-election, and his vice president chose not to run. Okay, all right, number 8. Why was John McCain considered a maverick? Remember, we talked about that yesterday, because he would vote against his party. So say all the Republicans wanted to change something or get rid of something, and he didn't think it was a good idea, he would just vote for what he thought and not what his party thought, which is fine. But that got him the name of Maverick. So it is because he would vote against his party. Okay. All right, summarize the strengths and weaknesses of Barack Obama and John McCain. Are you ready? All right, because it's long. That's why I went. All right, Obama's strength was the hope he gave to many Americans. These hopes were based on his life, career, and campaign promises. If you don't get it, I'll just pause the video. We can do it again, yeah? All right, and then McCain offered the strength of experience. His experience came from serving as a representative and then a senator in Congress, and also he understood foreign policy better than Obama. Okay, got it? Number 10. Did McCain's decision always support the Republican Party? You should. Ooh, sorry, I bumped you. Sorry. You should already know the answer to that. That's why he was called a maverick. No, no, and no. He would vote however he felt, which could be for, with, against, opposite, whatever. Okay. So no, he voted what he thought was right, not what his party thought was right. Which is what George Washington wanted. Remember, we talked about this, if you're a third grader of mine, that George Washington said there should not be political parties because if there's political parties, they'll worry more about their party than the welfare of the people, which we have seen is truth. Okay? In the craziness that's going on now, even. All right, number 11. You need to answer that because it says, do you think that the decline in the economy in September of 2008 helped Obama win the election? Okay, you need to decide that because it says, what do you think? Okay, use the facts you've learned in the chapter and answer that question. Number 12. Why was the presidential election of 2008 historical? It's the first time an African American man has ever been elected. It showed that America isn't racist. But then they just pushed the fact that they were racist. And the problem is also was that anytime anybody disagreed with President Obama, they were called racist. Not because they disagreed with his ideas, but because he was a man of color and they just decided if you didn't agree with him that you were racist, which of course isn't true because I've disagreed with every president we've ever had on some of the things they've done. So it has nothing to do with race. It's just not everybody agrees about everything. So that was a big problem for his thing. All right. And that is all that we have for today. So tomorrow I have a speech ready for the next pages you're going to do. And we'll see you tomorrow, all right? Bye-bye, guys.